Okay, it's October 3rd, Wednesday. I am doing my quarterly book report on Kelly Gallagher's Write Like This. Um, Pretty much got through the first two chapters. Sorry I'm a little late with this, guys. Anyway, this book is really interesting. The first chapter mostly just talks about writing, why you would want to write, why it should be important, especially in terms of professions and not just as an activity you do in school. Mr. Gallagher specifically implies that it should be something we should be doing as part of our lives, and that real employers are looking for real writers. Then he made this interesting claim with an art class that the projects you do in an art class are specifically designed to stretch you outside of your comfort zone, particularly to propel you towards creativity. And he suggested that we ought to do the same thing with writing, and actually critiqued the current writing standards and said they were sort of lacking in that, and write an essay, support your thesis, that's about as creative or as difficult as it gets. He questioned why we would not have writing assignments that would stretch kids in the same way that art assignments would. Two central premises of this book. Central premise one is to introduce young writers to real-world discourses. Again, with that idea of creating real writers who are writing about real things instead of just churning out projects for school, basically. These are the things he's come up with. This is actually what the rest of each chapter is broken down into this. Express and reflect, inform and explain, evaluate and judge, inquire and explore, analyze and interpret, and take a stand or propose a solution. So those are his terminology for the real-world discourse that he's asking the students to enter into with their writing. Talk a little more about that in a minute here. Central premise number two is to provide models for the students. The way you get kids to write well, number one, is by giving them something to write about. So that's his list. Number two is by providing them a model so they can follow someone. They don't know how to write, they need someone to teach them. One of the strongest statements he's made so far in the book was, you, the teacher, are the best writer in the room. You should be doing examples so that they can see you physically in front of them writing. No strategy has improved my students' writing more than having them watch and listen to me as I write and think aloud. None. So literally he's talking like stand at the blackboard or the whiteboard and write. And so they can watch you struggle, so they can watch you have a good writing day or have a bad writing day, so they can watch you, punctuate poorly and pick stupid words for things and, miniature writer's block, so they can watch that so that they can understand this isn't just in my head, that's how writing actually works. Also included in the providing models, he suggests that you have external people, real writers per se, who are writing about these things, newspaper articles, sports writers, any of these kinds of things, actual poets, actual novel writers, and have the kids read their writing too to get a sense of style for that kind of thing. Moving over to chapter 2, he begins the process of dissecting his list of real writing discourses. Chapter 2 is expressing and reflecting. He divides expressive writing into writing personal thoughts, ideas, feelings, etc., compared to reflection writing, which is where you take those thoughts and then you consider how they've changed you or what you're going to do with them. So there's a little bit of a disconnect, a little bit of a change there. I get what he's saying, I guess. It was kind of helpful. And then the rest of the chapter is pretty much a list of really sweet sounding writing exercises. I got a couple of them here. A 6-word memoir, he says, helps the kids get their brains going, helps them think in short pieces, helps them just spit something out and go. Actually, in my creative writing class with B.J. Hollers, we did this exact thing. Literally, in 6 words, you write a memoir of something that's happened to you. So one that he wrote in the book, all things considered, I'm doing well. One that I wrote for my class, I asked, she said yes. Awesome. Super short, super easy. Can spur a ton of discussion, lots of different directions to go with that. Other ideas were having them write like you're writing on Twitter. So you have that 140 character limit. You can do super short stories that way. You can do poetry that way. You can do just an expansion of the six word thing that way. Real easy, real simple. Most of the kids have a general idea of what it is. Another cool idea I thought was Encyclopedia of an Ordinary Life, which comes from an Anne Cross Rosenthal's book. Basically, she chronicles her life like it's an encyclopedia. So she just has entries alphabetically of things. Provides a way for kids to think. Again, a lot of getting the thinking going in this stuff. A lot of what are you trying to say? Just say it. Say it, say it, say it as fast as you can. As many different ways as we can get to try and help them say it in writing. That's basically what this chapter is about. One of my favorite bits in here was about reverse poems, which I'd never heard of before, but it sounds really cool. Basically, you read a poem top to bottom because that's how you read, and it says one thing, but with this particular kind you have to write it well enough that you can then start at the bottom and read back up and it'll say the opposite thing. So this is about 6 lines of one that he quotes in here. It will be evident that my generation is apathetic and lethargic. It is foolish to presume that there is hope. So that's the very end of one of these poems. Then you turn it around and read it the other way and it says, there is hope. It is foolish to presume that my generation is apathetic and lethargic. And, you know, keeps going both directions there, but really, really clever idea, I thought. I would love to try that myself. But harder than you think on the outside. I think it would be more difficult, but I think that would be really great to get kids thinking and to take something that's very close to them, have them write about it, and then turn it around positive and negative and work with both ends of it there. So, yeah, that's about as far as I got. See you next week.